there we go. So, hi, this isn't a formal training. It's more of a dialogue from Vickie and then a discussion as you guys want to see fit. I'm just here to describe to you how my brain works and what I say or do to get somebody who would be a good fit to make that jump. And my key to converting visitors is like a mind map. So my mind asks a question, and depending on the response, I then pivot and go in one conversational direction or another. And I'm really good at that mind map. So it doesn't matter if we get like here and it splits twice, and then I get to the next one and that splits 3 ways, and I go this, like I can go layers and layers in because I know BNI so well. So what I'm going to do is give you guys lots of examples of the way the mind map for converting somebody who is a good fit but can't quite see past the obstacle. I know how to get through layers of obstacles. So first step, when I'm in a breakout room or I'm at a BNI meeting with you all, and I'm in the room with a visitor, the first question I'm asking myself is, would they actually be, like, would this be good for them? You know, is this somebody who clearly is not interested? The mind map ends there. Like, this person's got a bad attitude, or their profession overlaps, or whatever, they're Vickie Wacek's retired mom, like not gonna, you know, so that's the first question. Now, assuming the fork splits and I'm like, I judge them that I think they'd be a good fit, their profession, they're friends with Larry Gilbert. So even though the profession might not work out, I'm like, if they know Larry and Larry knows them, this chapter might rally around them. Like, so once I realize they're interested, the next question I ask myself is, what is their obstacle? That's the next split in my mind map. And I have to figure out, I think they're good. Why do they think they're not good for the chapter? And I've learned that this is a 3-way split. The first split is, as we're talking, I find out that they are completely overwhelmed schedule-wise. They have several jobs, they've single parent or not, they have a huge commute time, whatever. So time obstacle. Another obstacle is money. So some people are like, this is brilliant, I've got all the time in the world, I don't have the funds. So that's one of the other options. And the third one is commitment. And commitment might be, I'm not confident giving referrals, or I'm not comfortable with public speaking, or I'm not ready to build my business. Like, what is the commitment problem? So that's the second layer. First layer, do I think they're actually going to work in this? If it's no, I just talk with them. If it's yes, I now try to figure out what their obstacle is. So while I'm talking with them, I might at some point slip in the question, so you're going to apply to what we're doing here. Like, you'd be a perfect fit if we can get you through the interview process. That's how I figure out usually what the obstacle is, unless they bring it up on their own. You guys know when you're chatting with visitors, like sometimes they're just like, this is so cool what you have going on. Gosh, Thursday mornings suck for me. You know, time, that's the time. So, okay, level 2. So now I have to break down these 3 different things for you, because each one provides its own struggle. And because I am a wicked major nerd, I'm going to do a screen share because I actually created a visual for this.
Oh, I've been taking copious notes with like arrows and things. So
yeah, here's my attempt to arrowed this. Okay, and by the way, I think it's actually more than this. I think there's more visual to this than what I put here. But so let's take this next. I'm talking to your visitor, and either they bring it up or I bring it up, but I recognize that the money is the problem. So my next question is, what kind of money problem? Is it they heard $798 and said, I don't have the money? So that would be image number 2. It says access to money. Is that what I'm trying to help them figure out? Or is it that they don't think that for the time and effort needed to make this work, that it's like the value, paying the money for how much time I have to put in? Like, maybe they don't see that value exchange. So let me talk about these 2 separately before I move on to how I handle the time over concern. So if it's value for the money, what I usually do in that situation, because they're thinking, wow, I have to put in 3 hours a week and pay $798, the value isn't there. I'm trying to figure out if that comes from ego People who are so, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you're talking to somebody about money and it's just like, that's not worth it. I'm like, oh, I just learned that you have a shitty attitude. I don't want you in my referral team. So I'm kind of like done sometimes when it's that problem. But it also might be that they're a small business and they've never considered spending $798 on anything in marketing. Like they're such a small business. They make so little income. And so in those situations, when it's value for the money, I'm trying to relate the value they get in my referral team with something they get of value in their business. So for example, if I'm talking to somebody who is a dog trainer and they just can't see $799, they have the money, it's just they can't rationalize it in their head. I might say to them, over the course of a year, if somebody hires you for dog training, how much do they pay? And the dog trainer or whoever you're talking to might say, oh, this. And you say, so basically that's what we're doing here. We'll do a payment plan and break it out. Maybe what they're seeing is a misconstruence of $798. When it's broken out, it's like $760 something, $64 a month. Like it's not a lot of money. But another value for the money problem might be that they are overwhelmed, might not be that they're overwhelmed by $798. It might be that they really don't see the value. And again, I try to relate it to the visitor's business and say, when you have a new prospective client, they're not all bought in yet either, buying your nutritionals or fixing their car or whatever it is, the service or product you provide. And so you kind of have an onboarding system to help that new client before you provide all the services, before you provide all the product. We are the same. So it's not all up at front. You're going to get the value over time, just like your clients get with you. So that's how I overcome that money value for the money complaint, is I try to relate it back to their clients paying them for their services. And once I can get them to see that the money put into BNI for their partnership is very similar to their clients paying them for their services. I'm going to hit these other 5 things and then let's open it up for anything you guys want to talk about, which is great for Larry because I know he has to head out at 2:30. So the second money problem is maybe I find out that it's not, they see the value, they just don't have $798. First of all, and I've said this a million times about converting visitors and overcoming objections, you always have to validate the objection first. You always have to tell them they're right, even if you don't agree. And here's why. All of you, myself included, are entrepreneurs. And when you tell a salesperson or a business owner that they're wrong, they now want nothing to do with it. And that sounds a little egotistical, but it's a subconscious truth for all of us. The reason we are salespeople, consultants, solopreneurs, whatever, is because of a lot of the time, because of the freedom. So if somebody says, I don't have the money, first validate it. I completely understand. When I was a small business, or one of our partners in this chapter is also a solopreneur, coming up with those funds, validate first. The second thing is relate to them. So out of curiosity, how many of you here have had a snag applying for BNI financially? Did any of you have to kind of figure that out? Yeah, okay, one or two hands up. So even if you didn't have money problems applying to BNI, you know that there's got to be somebody in your team, in your BNI team, that did. And so after I validated their access to money, I then relate to their access to money by saying, it's funny, my referral partner, Jillian, you remember her, she's the Feldenkrais woman. She also had that same snag, and here's how we helped her do that. Here's how we helped her overcome that. So validate, relate, then solve the problem. I find that works really well with the money problem, the money situation. In fact, Molly Lannon's got a partner in her chapter who sells dog treats, and she'd been to the chapter several times. And then I got my hands on her, found out that her problem was money, access to money. I solved her problem, and she's been an amazing partner with Queen City now for several years. So value, I relate to their business. Access to money, I figure out the problem, and then I, payment plans, or you don't have to pay for your partnership with our chapter. Your boss or your fiance or your best friend, we don't care where the money comes from. you're the person we're really actually interested in working with. All right, time. I only broke this into two, but I think it could take on more lives than that. So once I figure out that the person I'm talking to has no problem with $798, has no problem with public speaking or giving referrals, for them, it's like, you want me to be here for 90 minutes a week? There's a couple ways they might be upset about the time commitment. One, that first little image, it says the time doesn't work, and you find out that generally Thursday mornings aren't good for them, or this is way too early. Like, I can't do this time of day, or it's too late. I don't want to cut into my 8 to 5 time so much. So the time doesn't work. That is a situation where I just go, oh, I can still convert this person. It's just going to be for a different referral team in Vermont. And so one of the things I've learned to do, and it's easy for me because I've got you guys all memorized, but I've learned to always have a list of all the chapters nearby, maybe saved in my browser, so I can just see all the, and I would just say to the person, absolutely, like, a lot of people love what we do and they're part of a sister chapter because it works better, the time works better for them. So what day of the week is best for you? Because I know this person would be a good fit for a BNI community. It's just a matter of getting them. So the time doesn't work is just an opportunity to refer for a sister chapter. And what I love about that is if all of you are just not convinced, if you're all motivated to convert, it doesn't matter where they convert to, it's that they become a referral partner, which is a benefit to you. If you are convinced that they have to apply to your chapter, you're going to lose out more money in the long end because that person isn't becoming part of the referral teams that we create cross chapter. So time doesn't work. You're referring them to a sister chapter. Have that information nearby, because one of these days somebody's going to be visiting the chapter near you and somebody can't apply there. And because we created this mentality of cross chapter referring, they're going to refer that referral partner to your chapter. So I tell you, giver's gain when you refer cross chapter for applicants works just as well. It'll come back. Now, value for the time, similar to the first image about value for the money. Somebody's just like, I'm already, like, there's just too many hours in the day. So the way I handle the it's not worth the time objection is exactly the same. It's exactly the same as the way I do the value for the money. I relate it back to their lives and their businesses. So if I'm talking to somebody who, again, is a single dad and a solopreneur, and they are also have a part-time gig, this is somebody who's already packed tight. And so what I might say to somebody who's already over committed is I'll ask them, for the other things that you're doing, are they getting you what you need in your business? So you've got this part-time job. Is it generating income for the solopreneur business you have? No, but it's paying the bills. Well, if you want your business to make you $60,000 to $160,000 a year, you got to put a little bit more attention in it. What if this was the way you did it? Okay, so I'll ask them, how are things going the way they are? Are you getting what you want with the time that you're committing? And that usually ends up in like a nice dialogue about the person and their choices and how this community group could really help them filter through. Like, you're seeing how these really turn into conversations. Another value for the time might be similar to $798. I'm not spending that, or 3 hours a week. I'm not doing that. So sometimes from that question, I just find out that somebody just has a bad attitude about it. And so sometimes I realize it's the time objection and it's the value of the time, and that this person just has a bad attitude about spending time to make money. So I just stop trying to sell them on applying. The minute I realize somebody's not a good fit, I'm done. I just start talking to them and not focusing at all on the application, because then it's a waste of my time. Another value for the time complaint is they have the time, but they've really set up boundaries. Boundaries are good. Boundaries in their life to not take more on. And so in those cases, what I'm usually doing, again, breaking the mind map down, is I'm usually addressing, we make room for things in our life that we love. That's what I talk to them about. They have the time in their life. Maybe they've just put up boundaries about what they want to do. I'll usually say something like, we all make room for the things that are important to us. In 2015, if you had told me I would be pole dancing 8 hours a week, every week for years until COVID hit, I would have laughed in your face. And then a year and a half later, I was pole dancing 8 hours a week, every week for 4 years straight until COVID hit. It's because I love pole dancing. So I don't usually tell the pole dancing story because it's too, you guys know me enough, so it's not shocking to you. But with a visitor, I'll say something like, you know, other things, ultimate frisbee, or the sign language classes that I take, or whatever. And I basically say to them, we make time for the things we love. This group will change your life. It'll be a place you love. You'll be so thankful that you carved out the 3 hours a week to be part of our meetings and have one-to-ones, because it'll fill you up, not just finance, you know. So I talk about kind of the bigger picture for that value for time, for the time. All right, last one, commitment. And then you guys can stop listening to me and start discussing this stuff. The commitment one is a lot more dynamic. Money is access or value. Time is time of day or value for the time. Commitment can be a lot of different categories. And I just put 2 of them down, although I can think of a third one. So one commitment might be, I'm talking to somebody and you can tell that they're interested, and you bring up the application, you bring up meetings being once a week, you bring up the finances. None of these things trigger the person. And so I can't figure, it's not time or money. So what, it's got to be something else. Like, otherwise they would have no objections and they'd want the application link now. So to figure out which commitment problem they're having, you usually have to dig a little bit. You might say something like, what do you think the hardest part of being part of our team might be? You'd be based on the way you talk to today's meeting, you would be an amazing partner for us. Like, you obviously love what you do. What do you think about doing this with us? Now, the reason I'm asking this question at this point is probably because I didn't figure out the time, they didn't have a money or time objection. And in that question, out comes, yeah, I just, the public speaking thing. Like, there's the objection. If we could just make this a safe place for this person to speak every week, they'll find the time and the money. So when I find it's the public speaking commitment, I validate first, then I relate, then I solve the problem. Okay, if I don't have public speaking nervousness, I'm sure somebody else on my team did. So I'll tell a story. I totally understand where you're coming from. When I was a new BNI partner, I was 24 years old. Public speaking freaked me out. And this is coming from somebody with an opera degree. I got very nervous all the time when I spoke in front of my chapter. And I learned, this is the line I have for public speaking or objection. I learned that this is the safest place to learn to be a good public speaker. I can make mistakes in this group and they don't hold me against it. In fact, they help me with my public speaking. So again, I validate, I relate by showing them how I know what they're feeling, and then I solve the problem. This is a safe place for me to learn public speaking. In fact, one of my favorite lines with this kind of objection is, this is a really safe place for introverts to network. I say that a lot when I'm talking to somebody who doesn't have a money or time objection. They have a commitment objection. It's the public part. And I just say, it can be really hard to network as an introvert. This is a really safe place to do it because it's a group of peers helping each other out. Now, another side of commitment might be they're okay with the public speaking, they're okay with the money, they're okay with the time. It's the giving referrals. They're new to the community, or they're new to their profession, or they're young and don't feel like they're connected, but for some reason, the idea of being responsible for helping other people makes them uncomfortable. I'll say it for the 100th time: validate, relate, find a solution. So in the giving referral thing, again, I'll say, I know exactly how you feel. Or, Julieta Rushford, you met her at the meeting, the health consultant, she had this problem too, the giving part. And so relate, that was the relating. I understand, I relate, or somebody I know relates. And then I find a solution. We've actually seen in our BNI referral teams that some of the best referral givers are the people who came in nervous that they couldn't. And the reason we found people like you become amazing givers is because you want to. Whereas some people just come into BNI to make money for themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the people who come in here with a bit of I'd like to be a good giver. you guys, it tends to come naturally. Once you get to know us, once you hear us talk about our businesses, it'll start to get easy to refer us. Another thing that popped in my head for commitment, kind of a third that I didn't put on here, is I want to be a part. I don't want to just be a part of Prosperity BNI. I want to be a part of all the chapters. Like if I'm going to pay this money and spend this time, validate, relate, solve the problem. Oh, I get it. Like if I want to network, I want access to everything. What's really neat is most of us use this BNI family just in our chapter level, but we can introduce you to our executive who can help you leverage this statewide. So once you settle in, if you get through our app, you've got to be partnered with one community group. So if somebody's like, I want this, but I want it all. Okay, you've got to work with Vickie or one of the director consultants because they know a lot of people too. All right. What is it? Oh, good. It's 2:24. I guess I didn't talk as long as I thought I would. So open it up. When I was talking about the three, could you think of a fourth category that I didn't cover, or maybe one of the like pick my brain?
Well, what was coming up for me is that, I mean, they're all scarcity issues. So the one, it all mirrors what I do with doTERRA. And the one that I would just add is commonly it's that people don't know enough people, they think, don't have enough time, don't have enough money, and don't know enough people, which falls into the commitment giving referrals category. So it all mirrors it. And I think the one question I'm having, so maybe you can help me through this, my objection, is so much of it is sampling, right? So it's not for me sitting with someone and convincing them to get oils, and it's not about me convincing someone that they're a right fit. It's them experiencing it for themselves. So when I became a member of BNI, when I came to Queen City, it was, oh, and you should check out other chapters and see which chapter is right for you and which time of the day is right for you, location. And then it was the members inviting me to do a one-to-one. And so it was that sampling experience of, I was already exchanging business both ways before I was a member as that visitor. And so
that sampling concept is one of the mind map, because one of the things that a lot of you, the plural BNI world, makes when you're converting visitors is because your objection was money. You assume every visitor you're talking to, their objection is money. Christy, you were just saying, if you just assume that, well, my snag was I needed to physically experience BNI before I applied. If you apply that to every visitor, you're fixing your objection, not theirs. So the thing about this situation is you have to first figure out, is their objection that they want to experience it more? And you can't just go to that. You have to have a little bit of a dialogue to uncover time, money, commitment. Oh, it's commitment. What kind of commitment? Oh, they want to experience it. Great. Only in that situation would you then volunteer Middlebury BNI or Heart of only then, because if you volunteer a solution without knowing the problem, you're now selling. You're pitching BNI if you solve the problem, but you don't know what the problem is. So part of great conversion, why I'm really good at it, find their pain point and then solve only their pain point. Okay. Yeah. So Christy, you're dead right. You added another commitment problem. I want to experience it. The answer to that is good. I haven't been to Heart of Vermont in a while. Why don't I go with you? Or there's somebody who does your profession in another chapter. Why don't I set up a one-to-one? I'll do a 3-way introduction. And, again, that's that mind map down there is how you might solve that problem when you figure that out. Yeah.
Awesome.
What else do you guys think? I love it. Yes. Yeah. I can hear you guys thinking over here.
I had something that I thought of in talking about way back about is it worth it? What comes up for me in conversations with people is talking about how I was supported by all the people in my chapter through COVID. Like BNI supported me through a pandemic. Like it's unfortunate that it had to happen that way, but we have that now that we can utilize because it's the truth. Like all these other businesses might have been struggling, but I didn't struggle through COVID because I had my people in BNI.
Now, again, I'm going to say this perfect. Absolutely. What you and Christy just did is you guys both talked about the last thing, the solving the problem. And what's interesting about your story, Jillian, is that if you tell that story to a visitor, but they're not interested in solving loneliness from COVID, you are pitching prosperity, you're pitching BNI. So one of the things you and I have to be very careful about is telling our story, because we think our story is motivating, but it's our story. It's what motivated us. To be a good converter in BNI, we have to figure out what they want and then fill in the story from our or somebody else's experience. Again, anytime you find yourself telling a story that wasn't prompted by something they said, you're pitching your BNI partnerships or you're pitching your business. And I learned this from my insurance days. If somebody calls up and all they want to talk about is car insurance, and I bring up renter's insurance, I'm now a salesperson and they don't want car insurance from me anymore. I have to stay with what they want if I have any chance of selling them the house insurance later. Same thing in BNI. And again, I'm not selling a bad thing in insurance. I'm not selling a bad thing in BNI. I know I'm doing the right thing, but to be the best salesperson, I have to keep digging and digging and digging until I figure them out. Then I talk, which can be, Julieta and Jillian, when I was with you and your visitor last week, the three of us told too many stories. She talked 25% of the time because I was talking 25% of the time and each of you were talking 25% of the time. And all of us were guilty of telling stories that she wasn't interested in hearing.
Yeah.
For those of you that have been through visitor host training recently, or you probably saw this in the general session in Zoom in September, the concept of the bib versus the apron. Visitors only have a bib on. They are not interested in cooking a meal and sharing it with you. They are not interested in coming in and making you guys money. They are interested in the loneliness and the topic, how you guys, bye Larry, thank you. They're lonely. How can your chapter fix that? They're poor. How can your chapter fix that? They're overwhelmed. How can your chapter fix that? They're only there to help themselves. And that's why when you tell your story, you're helping yourself, not them. And that's why you have got to take the time to drill down through that mind map and figure out what their problem is and then solve it for them, feed them, show them they can be fed, however it is that they're looking to be fed, by being a part of your team. And that's why you overcome objections to do that.
Another objection I've come across is, I don't think that this would help my business.
When you ask why not, what is their rationale?
They never really have a good answer, it seems like.
Okay.
But
I've got a response.
Yeah. Okay.
This is not a good fit. Usually comes from somebody who's never used essential oils. Oh, essential oils don't work. They have no idea. They don't know what they don't know, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't think this is going to work because they've never seen anything like what you guys are doing. It's not taught in colleges. It's not talked about on social media. Yeah, networking, but that's like the business card bazooka. That's what networking is. And so what I usually do in this situation when I get somebody who's like, this isn't going to work, is I relate to the kinds of marketing they do know. And I might say, do you have business cards? How do you get those in front of people? Do you have to put time and money into the design, the review, the printing, the getting them on bullet? We are exactly the same. It's just not a physical card. You've got to show up. You've got to apply it over. You got to put the proverbial BNI membership on the bulletin cards and hand them out to people. We are marketing just like radio. We are marketing just like TV. We are marketing just like print, but we're different than all of them. So you should have social media marketing. You should have business cards. You should have banners. You should have a radio slot, and you should have a community whose position in the area is just to make you money. We are marketing just like anything else. You're just not used to hearing about it. Go ahead, Chad.
This kind of relates back to more of the money thing than anything, but I think it could be used in any of the scenarios. Mike Quinlan always says it best. What other marketing platform could you use where you get 12 to 50 people on your team to advertise for you for $800 a year?
That's great.
Did you ever invest that $800? And even at 12 members, where can you spend $800 and have 12 people promote your business?
That is great. And again, Elizabeth, when the person says, I just don't see the value, that's one way you might go at it. You validate it first. I totally understand. There's nothing like this anywhere else. So it's kind of confusing for somebody like you who hasn't seen what we're doing. And then how do you overcome the objection? You relate to radio or print or TV, or social media advertising. You ask them, where for $800 a year or $60 a month can you get this kind of marketing for your business? And again, you can go in either direction. Both of those are very valid. If you find that the person is particularly money motivated, you might go Chad's way. If you find the person is more relationship motivated, you might go the way I presented.
So I think Elizabeth is like one of the best closers ever, and she's why I'm in BNI. And it wasn't like there wasn't a feeling of, oh, I need to join right now, but there was this positivity of like I feel like she probably asked me, I can't remember exactly, but like what I ask someone at the end of a doTERRA class, which is like, what did you love most about the meeting? Like, what did you love most about the class? Just getting me thinking positive. And then as I was sharing the things I loved, then out was coming the time commitment for me and the value. And there wasn't a pressure. There was a hearing of my obstacle and a giving me some options. And
Yes.
it was just awesome.
And
So.
Elizabeth is a great closer because again, she's not interested in telling her story until she knows that her story is a solution to what you're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
She relates directly to you instead of herself. Yep. She's amazing like that.
You should also forward out that original closer video that you did. I still send that to everyone that's on visitor host team when they ask about closing a visitor. Do you know the training I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I put it on YouTube, didn't I?
I believe so. That one is amazing.
Okay, thanks. That was more of a workshop instead of me just talking at you for a while. Yeah. Well, and Christy, what you were saying, like, what did you like about the meeting? That question can sometimes show you the objection. The person might say, I like this, you know, and I don't understand really how you got, you know, so this whole mind mapping concept, I didn't apply to BNI in June 2007 and was just good at converting. That's not the way this worked. I had to fail a lot. I had to figure out Vickie's way of listening, interpreting, and then talking, you know? And so to make this work, you might take your notes and streamline it a little bit more. So when it's the money thing, you can kind of look and see. I can put that image up again if you want to take a screenshot. It was just me screwing around in Canva. And trying to be a much better listener in the first 80% of the conversation than a talker, because it's going to take you the majority of the conversation to really find out the truth of the person's objection before you validate, relate, and then solve their objection. And so what are you going to use for your opening question? Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming. How do you know Kristen Dearborn? You know, and again, that might be how you start the conversion process. Or it was so great to have you. We've never had anybody from your profession here today. What did you think? You know, so you've got to figure out your genuine opener, and then how that conversation goes. You might have somebody who's highly nervous and uncomfortable in public situations. And so the opening questions, you're just trying to figure out how to get this person to open up, let alone try to figure out if they're going to apply. So you might spend 20 minutes just trying to get somebody to warm up with you. You know, other people, you might say, do an opening question, and they're like, elephant in the room. How do I afford this? Like some people might just plop in your lap. So being a converter, all I know, my husband describes it like this. He's like, I'm a computer programmer, so I know I have to make software that does this over there. That's what it does when I'm done. Now, as the programmer, my job is to know which code is going to get us fastest to that with the least glitches that's easiest for the user. That's what you all have to be. You have to have the knowledge of all these nuances in your partnership in your chapter, and then wait as you put that first piece of code in, what then opens it up for the next piece. And you have to be really flexible to meet that visitor wherever they pivot. And if at any point any point, it could be 2 minutes in, it could be 30 minutes in. If at any point I feel like the person is not a good fit or is feeling sold to, I stop. I stop right then and there. I don't invite them to a future meeting. I thank them. I want them to have as beautiful an experience as possible. And if I feel like I've pushed it too far, they may not come back, which means they're going to miss Elizabeth's feature presentation and they won't have that one-to-one with Chad. And so I'm way more about a good experience. And if I can get them to the application, I will. But if I'm always checking in with my intuition about, did I push it too far? Because I never want it to be salesy, but I do want them to apply. The end result of this process is I want an application that my membership committee has to handle. I know I'm a goof. What else do you think? Questions?
So thank you, Vickie.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the language that you use for that last 2 sentences when you say, here's an application? You know, like what you've talked about the objections, you've talked about, you know, the mindset. Can you do that last third language that you use so that people leave an application today?
Perfect. So you're right. The mind map starts with how was the meeting, your opening, whatever your opening question, objection, the reality, and then it comes back to that's what we're looking for, is that endpoint, the application. Okay. So first, I'll say, how do you like to do applications? Are you a PDF? Can I put one in the mail? Are you like, just do it on your cell phone? Oh, you're a cell phone person. If I put it in the chat, would that be easiest for you? Great. There's a link. Put your email address in, your email account will get the application specific to you. So that's step 1 of that. How do they want to receive it, and then give it to them the way they want it. Oh, if I text you it, if I WhatsApp it to you, if I direct message it through Facebook, like what, how do you want to get this? And sometimes I'll ask, again, if it's a very straightforward personality, I just let them do it. They're like, I'll figure it out on my own. If I get the nuance that the person is somebody who likes a little bit more hands-on, I've been known to ask the question, when was the last time you submitted an application to anything? And they might go, oh, actually, just yesterday I applied for this. Or they might say, you know, it's been a long time. I've owned my business for 15 years. I haven't had to apply. I might say, if you're interested, I'm available at this afternoon around 2 or 3 o'clock. We can meet up and I can help you fill out the application. So that might be, again, I'll pivot with the person, but I might ask, if you'd like help filling out the application, I can help. Again, they don't know that it's easy because they've never done it. They think it's like a thing. I'm very clear that most community groups are doing interviews without payment. So if you're just looking for more information, let's get you registered to come back next week and let's get you set up for an interview, because that's where you can really deep dive into what it means to use this marketing team. And for those of you that don't do interviews without payment, again, just teach your visitor host team not to use that communication. But some people, again, Christy, you said, what if people just want to experience it more? It's like, well, the way to experience is come back to another meeting and go through the interview process, because there's no money, like there's no finances exchanged for that.
But you skipped the sentence, Vickie.
Which
the
one?
key sentence that I'm looking for is, you immediately went, how do you like to do applications? So what's the sentence before that is, would you like an application?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Sorry, I assume I made a bad assumption. Sorry. I assumed that was they already said, okay. So the question, okay. So again, like all good salespeople, I don't have a line, because if I'm talking to somebody who's a get it done kind of person, I might just say, how would you like to receive the application? Like, I won't even ask if they want one. But if I'm talking to somebody who's more relationship, more like nuanced, instead of just like straight, then I might say something, again, I don't have a script. I just know that I want to ask the question. So do you have time today to fill out an application? That might be one way I say it. Do you have 15 minutes today to fill out the application? I might say, oh gosh, there's just so many ways to go about it. I might say, so what do you think about applying for an interview? So what do you think? I'm not saying they are, I'm just getting their feedback. But after all that, now, again, this is after I've figured out and overcome their objection, and there might be multiple, but this is the end of the conversation. So what do you think about applying for an interview? I might, if I'm working with somebody who's really high energy, I might say something like, oh my gosh, this is clearly like the next best thing since sliced bread. So when are you applying? And again, somebody who's like just a little bit more like Vickie. So when are you applying? Oh my gosh, it's the fun thing to do. So I kind of pivot the way I ask the question based on their personality.
That's helpful. And just as a heads up, we have 1 more minute. It's 2:44.
Okay.
You mentioned a hard stop at 2:45, and I have a hard stop too.
Yep. So does anybody have 60 seconds worth of stuff that another insider opinion or question?
The thing about not sharing our stories unless it's relevant was a light bulb moment for me. That was well worth the price of admission here.
Well, and remember, you have to share stories as part of the conversion process. You have to. If you're not sharing stories, you're doing it wrong. It just might not be the story you think you're going to share. It might be somebody else's.
Yep.
Yeah. Others. Your job at this point, by the way, is to go out and try this and fail and then succeed and go, wow, that felt good. How did I do on that one? And you just got to go out and talk to visitors and figure out how to listen for their need. Go ahead, Christy.
Well, sorry, somebody was asking me something as you were answering Julietta's question. It was my same question, is the, would you like an application? And I think, because I caught the tail end of your answer, is that you don't specifically say that, you tailor it to the person.
Yep. If they're
Okay.
get stuff done, shoot from the hip, I say, how do I get you the application? If they're a little bit more nuanced, I might say, so what do you think about applying? Or, oh my gosh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. So when are you applying? Like, again, I try to meet them where they are, and I try to match my energy. So Julieta and Jillian's visitor on Thursday, Vickie was much calmer. This was a very introverted, kind, passionate person who was very introverted. And or at least she was presenting that way. She might be much more out, but I just took it a level down.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cute. Hey, you guys. Welcome to the Brady Bunch Zoom meeting. Hey, it's 2:46, so I've got 4 more minutes of free time if anybody wants to stick around, but yeah. Jillian and Julieta, is this what you were looking for?
Yes. Thank you very much. I utilized your skills today on today's visitor when I said, you can just apply for an interview and then, no strings attached. You don't have to have $200 up front. So I'm going to call her tomorrow and she might fill out an application. So we'll see.
Awesome. Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
My pleasure. Awesome hanging out with you guys. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions they want to ask with the 4 minutes I have remaining?
No, this was nice, and I'm glad that I could hop on. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry for the late notice. We planned it yesterday. So
I guess just what you said about just doing it and being okay with failing, I think that's really important too. I was kind of coaching my contact sphere yesterday on how I'm so successful with inviting visitors, and I just invite everyone and don't really care if they come or not. I mean, of course I care, but I'm not attached to it. And then I'm definitely not attached to them becoming a member, a referral partner. I'm not attached to them filling out an application, because like one of them was like, I've invited so many people that I thought would be such great members. And I was like, okay, if you already have it in your head that they're going to become a member, like you're getting way ahead of yourself. And, just invite everyone. Like it doesn't have to be a perfect fit, because everyone brings money to the chapter too. So a little bit before this closing part, but the same idea, just keep doing it. And
I couldn't agree with you more. And I know that as part of my conversion, I do not have my personal identity invested in their yes. I don't. If they're not interested, I'm like, on to the next person. Like that's part of my BNI team. There's always strangers here. And most people are going to say no, and that's okay. Again, my goal is to make my reputation and my credibility squeaky clean. So they have a wonderful time. So on the off chance they think of my business in the future, they want to come to it, because I never pushed them. I never sold them. I was never like, they have to apply or I'm going to be miserable. It's like being upset every time you provide a quote and nobody works and they don't work with you. Like, you just be miserable focusing on all the negative parts of your business. But what about the people who do come in? Give them a good
It's 10 to write one. You know that, Vickie.
Yeah, well, especially in the insurance world. Yeah.
Yep.
So I love that, Elizabeth. Don't be personally invested in the outcome. Invite everyone. Let everybody have an opportunity to apply, but don't let it ruin your day if somebody says no, even if it's been 6 months in a row. Keep staying positive. Keep creating a positive experience. It'll come around. Giver's gain is not very steady, and it's like, I gave, I get, I gave, I get. It's like, I gave. Oh, I got a lot. Like, we don't know why it works like that, but just keep doing good stuff. It'll come around. Yeah, be patient with the process, and also know you're going to make mistakes and be like, dang, I talked too much, or I sold that person. I should have sold them on it. And you'll just learn. You'll get the next visitor will get a better experience because you're learning how to listen, figure out their objections, and meet them at their objections, not yours. Yeah, it's a patient experience. Feeling good? Anything else? Awesome. I'm going to stay right here because in a matter of minutes, all the Northeast executive directors will be showing up. So that's my next. So I'm just going to stay here and hang out. I'll clean up the recording and see you guys all around.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.